Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first ever instalment on this channel, All for United, of Devil's Advocate. Joined, obviously, by myself, Rachel, the host tonight, joined by Mark, Keane, Callum, Jamie and Stu. Myself and Keane have obviously recently come over from the weekly Armchair Sports Talk, where Devil's Advocate was born and raised. And obviously we've adopted it now onto All for United to make this kind of, power couple as such. So, Mark, how are you doing today?
Yeah, not too bad actually. I only recently got out of bed, had a couple of takeaways, had a shower about half an hour ago, but yeah, I'm good. I'm ready.
Sounds amazing. Keno, how you doing tonight, mate?
All good. Didn't get my Man United fix this weekend. It's been a weird weekend not watching the Reds, but other than that, absolutely fantastic. All excited for Christmas.
Yeah, it has been a weird weekend. Callum, how have you coped this weekend without the Reds?
With a lot of alcohol and hungover some days.
Sounds amazing.
So I am on my arse today, if I'm honest.
Sounds amazing. Jamie, how you doing today? I've not spoken to you yet, so how you doing?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you. I had a shave this morning, so obviously I'm babyface, which is nice. I'm 50-50 about United, because obviously I'm gutted I've not got to watch them, but at the same time I'm ecstatic I've not got to watch them because they haven't ruined the weekend. So it's all good. My fantasy's gone to shit. My fantasy's gone down the drain this week because of the postponed games. But other than that, I'm doing all right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think everyone's fantasy Premier League has just literally gone to absolute shit. I haven't checked mine since about second week. So I think I've still got Jota. So he's scored today. So whatever. Stu, how you doing today?
Yeah, I'm all good, thanks. Pretty relaxed today. Had a bit of footy. So yeah, pretty good.
Good, fantastic. So obviously we're going to kick off this evening with talking about Man United. Obviously, even though they're not in action this weekend, still got to talk about them. They still run around in our minds every single minute of every single day. I wanted to start off with Pogba and the situation that we find ourselves in with Riola and the whole situation that's been back and forth for what seems like 10 years that this shite's been going on. Pogba, do you guys think, Mark, I'll come to you first. Do you think that he's worth all this hassle? Do you genuinely think that, obviously we all know when he's on his game, he's a world-class player. There's no doubt about it. But how many of those games have we actually had in his tenure at United? And is it worth the hassle that we have with his agent, I'm not going to say the player, because I don't think he's massively done anything wrong. I think it's just his agent that's the massive problem. So, Mark, do you think that this is all worth it going forward?
No, I'm not sure it is. And to be honest with you, all the people calling out for Haaland to come, I think we're just going to be in the same sort of position again with him. Now, listen, I've backed Pogba many, many times, and I think he's a phenomenal player, as you say, on his day. But I'd also get frustrated with fans that seem to latch on to the fact, it will come good. He's been here 5 years now, and fundamentally, whether you like it or not, it's not been consistent enough. And, I think everybody, including he, should be given a clean slate with Raf in, all the players, the academy. I think Pogba is included on that. And we'll just have to wait and see. I think there's been a contract proposal since July, which he's not signed. I don't get, there was a couple of pundits that said that he should never play again if he's not going to sign a contract. I don't agree with that. I think you're contracted until the end, and if he does go on a free at the end of the season, that's just United's shitty situation, really. But no, I to be honest with you, as I said, I've had his back for so long now, but I'm starting to wear thin with that patience, and quite frankly, I'm not sure. If you look about it, 3-4 years ago, he was one of our bigger, better players, or at least deemed as world class, and we didn't have so many of those. I don't think we are as reliant upon Pogba. I think you've seen over the last year, maybe a bit longer, where he's not been so vital. He's got 7 assists this season. Came very early, but not done much since then. Obviously, injuries and whatever. But I don't think that we are so reliant on him. And if he goes in the summer, I just think we have to move on and look forward.
Kino, do you agree, especially with this sentiment? Obviously, good player, but is it time for him to move on? Do you agree with Reece here?
Yeah, I think if you look at the situation with Pogba, he's been hot and cold for a 5-year period, and it's just the case that I think it's one of these times. I made the analogy that yes, he's a brilliant player, and no one can doubt his talent and his ability, but he's never been consistent in a Manchester United shirt. Apart from that spell last season, where from about January till May, like that was probably his best period in United shirt. But like really and truly, look at the wages he's demanding. Like as the comment says there from John, he wants 400k a week. His form over 5 years doesn't warrant that. And if you look, for example, the other players we have at the football club, you give Paul Pogba that contract, and you have Pogba, taking that there, then you're setting a dangerous precedent to overall, because you'd have the other players like Ronaldo, Bruno, Rashford, who are already on massive wages. You give Paul Pogba 400k a week and he's underwhelming. That's going to break our wage structure, and there's going to be all sorts of unrest in the dressing room. So for me, I'd maybe look at getting someone younger in, with for obviously less money, and someone who'll actually play for the badge, and and hopefully no fiascos in terms of Raiola or anything like that, because I think as a fan base we've enough.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Grant says here, Pogba's attitude in the Liverpool game for me was the beginning of the end for him, an enigma of a player. Cal, where do you stand on Pogba and the whole situation around him?
Oh, it's time for him to go, innit? I think. How many times have we had this discussion because Raiola said something else whilst Pogba's on international duty, or he's injured and he's gone to Dubai, and you know what I mean? He's a great player, Pogba, but unfortunately he's just not consistent enough. Like Mark said, he's got 7 assists, but they were in the first 2 bloody games of the season. It's not good enough. Understandably, he's injured at the moment. I thought Rangnick kind of got it spot on, to be honest. If he doesn't want to be here, he can go. If you play for United, you shouldn't have to be convinced to play for Man United. I think every one of us here would play for them for free, and he's talking about 400 grand a week. He's injured and he's not consistent enough. 400 grand a week, Jesus Christ, it's ridiculous that. It's time to get shot of his agent as well. Raiola said a lot of comments in the past in terms of his future and in terms of Man United as a whole, and just shown complete lack of respect to the club. Pogba can easily come out and say, "Oh no, I don't agree with that," but he doesn't. The problem that it was kind of saying, perfect. The fact that we're even having to discuss him shows everything. We seem to be discussing him a lot more about in terms of a bad vibe on him than a good thing. We know how good he can be, and unfortunately, he's not hit them heights that we signed him back for. But can I just add, it is absolutely frigging typical of Manchester United to let somebody go on a free, sign them back for 90 million, and then let them go on a free again five years later. It is absolutely clear that Man United and the forward planning is still absolutely in the frigging bin, as usual. Ultimately, let him go. Good luck to him. He'll be amazing elsewhere, obviously, I'm sure he will be. And let's go get Jude Bellingham. Jude Bellingham, for me, is absolutely incredible, and he will be the perfect replacement for him. Get rid of his wage off the bill and bring in Jude Bellingham. Get Bellingham instead of Haaland from Dortmund, and then Greenwood can be the new number 9 for Man United after Ronaldo's done.
I like that, because the thing with throwing in Haaland is as amazing and as class that he is. We've got the same situation of Raiola yet again, and no doubt down the line, if we do sign Haaland in about 3 to 4 years' time, maybe not even that, we'll have the exact same situation that we're having with Pogba. Jamie, do you think the same? Do you think it's time for Pogba to part ways with United?
Yeah, I think for all parties concerned, unless, and I've said this multiple times on this channel, unless we get a miracle from him and he does a complete U-turn and sacks Raiola, commits his future for a decent wage and actually starts performing week in, week out, I think it's probably best for everyone that we all move on. The only thing I will say, and ironic to start the show, but to play devil's advocate a little bit, I do think Pogba does get held to a different standard and regard than anyone else. The same people that are now constantly cursing Pogba on Twitter and in the media are the same ones that wish that Ander Herrera was still here and that he never left, despite the fact that he also asked for a ridiculous wage, despite the fact that, again, I love the boy, don't get me wrong, but there's 1,000,001 players out there that can do the job that he did. So I do think that Pogba often is the villain, and he's an easy target. I don't know, I'm not going to start making accusations as to why that is with some people, but I think that at times, he is, one of, if not the best midfielder in the world. The problem is those times come few and far between. It's like going to a Michelin star restaurant, but every other meal they serve you is just literal human feces. Do you keep going to that restaurant, or do you go to one down the road that you get a more consistent, maybe not as nice a meal?
I'm a bit worried about what restaurants you're going to, Jamie, to be honest.
Bro, you know me, I love an analogy. But that's the thing,
Shame most of them aren't funny, innit?
They're not meant to be funny, you baldy. But yeah, so as sad as I will be to see him go, because I've loved him since we saw him make his debut as a kid. I think the first time I saw him play was against Everton back in like 2011, 12. Can't remember exactly when it was, but I just think, for him, for us, get rid of Raiola from the school, just from having any association with our team, and we just need to be wary of doing business with any of his clients in the future. But if he does go, I wish him all the best. I think he's an absolute baller. He'll thrive wherever he goes. But again, the last thing for it is that it saves us a problem with the midfield, because not only do we have the pressure of signing a midfielder that helps us be a more cohesive and functional team, we also have the issue of signing a midfielder that also complements Paul Pogba and helps him get into starting 11. So if we move away from that, and if we move away to just getting somebody that fits the formation that Ralph or whoever comes in after him wants to play, then it's easier for everyone involved.
Yeah, talking about Ralph as well, I feel like his press conferences recently, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I feel like they've been so assured and so direct. He's just made his point and he's not kind of tiptoed around it. And I just wanted to come to this comment here. It says, Ralph has already said, if I have to convince a player to play for Manchester United, they're not good enough to play for us. That says it all. And I love that mentality, that if you have to try and convince someone to stay at your club, they don't want to be here. We don't want another situation with like Di Maria, do we? I don't think anyone wants another Di Maria or another Alexis Sanchez or anyone like that. I think we want to move forward with players that want to be at this club. And I love Pogba. I always have. I kind of echo your sentiment, Jamie. I've always loved him from a young age. When he came back, I was absolutely buzzing. But he's just not hit that height for me that he was expected to hit. I know what you're saying about that he's the villain in the media, and I think we all know like who that's directed at, and it's obviously Graham Souness and most of the Sky Sports media as well. But he's come in for a massive amount of money. He's got a massive personality, a big ego, and that's why people don't like him. Is because he's got those traits about him, but he's not already backed it up with, on the pitch antics. It's the same as Grealish. Grealish has gone massively under the radar this season with how much he came in for, but how much he's, not attributed to the City team massively. Stu, do you agree that Pogba's time is kind of coming to the end?
Yeah, he's finished at the club. My take on it, though, is we don't necessarily know the individual. We don't know the personality, because he allows Raiola to speak for him. And because that happens, then everybody has got this dislike for him. He is the villain of the piece for whatever reason. I think Raiola's got to take the blame for that. I'd like to know what he's like as an individual. I'd like to know what he's like around the dressing room. And I'd like to know what the other players really thought about him, because I think that would level our opinion and fans' opinions of what we feel about Pogba, because everybody's pretty much right. When you look from the outside in, you just want to get rid of him. He appears to be this virus, but we don't actually know. The thing about it is, look, I've never ever thought a football was worth 100 million quid, 150 million quid. I don't, I've never understood the price tags that these players have, because ultimately a player can only do so much in 90 minutes, and it's what he does within those 90 minutes that really count in a football match. And I've said on this channel on numerous occasions, and I'll stand by it, that sometimes a group of lesser players, so to speak, one for the better phrase, are sometimes a better outfit and a better unit, and they don't require these. I fucking hate the term superstars. Winds me up more than anything. They don't.
And posers.
And posers. Well, the problem is they are. You've got players like that. They are elevated to a poser status because, as you quite rightly said, Rachel, he's got this fucking ego about him. But Eric Cantona had an ego, but he had an ego that he could actually translate onto the pitch. He had this ego that translated and transmitted around the whole squad. You know, Pogba doesn't have that from what we can see. And he's not done enough in the 5 years that he's been back with us to warrant 10 grand a week, let alone 400 grand a week. He just hasn't warranted that. He's come up with the odds winning goal here and there, but hey, that's what you're in the team to do. You put on, a squad of players that are there to win games for Manchester United. So for me, I'd off him in January. I'd get him gone in January. I'd take whatever we can for him. And Cal's right, actually. We shouldn't be taking stupid money for him, a small amount of money, but we just want him out the club. And I think he needs a fresh challenge. I think, him and Lingard, maybe Cavani, I think they just need this fresh challenge now. And I think it's just time for them to move on.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Moving on from Pogba to someone who is more of a fan favourite in Cavani. I think everyone, most of the fan base, absolutely adore Cavani. The only problem that I have with Cavani is obviously his recent injury record has not been great. He's barely been available, and obviously with the COVID postponements, I assume he was supposed to play against Brighton. I heard that from the club, but he obviously, that game didn't go ahead. Mark, where do you stand on Cavani? Are you a massive Cavani lover, and will you be sad to see him go in January, like the reports are saying? We've got a 6-month contract on offer from Barcelona for him. Will you be sad to see him go, or do you think he's another one like Pogba and it's kind of better for him and better for the club as us to move forward?
I can't say I'll be particularly sad. I understand the sentiment behind Cavani and what he's done, and his injury record hasn't been great, as you said. But we got to remember he had an ACL with PSG, didn't play for 6 months before he signed, and you don't ever really recover from that. Just look at Falcao. So I think Cavani actually is performed pretty well for us. But look, I think he's on the other end of the spectrum, to be honest. I think that he's been very professional throughout his time at United. Hasn't, he might have been vocal to whoever he's spoken to at the club, but he's not. He's always been very appreciative to the fans and has given 110% whenever he's been on the pitch. So, this happens, doesn't it? You're going to be sad about some and more happy about others, but it'll be sad to see him go. But, as I said, United don't stop there. Players move on all the time. We've got a wealth of experience and ability up front. We haven't seen much of Cavani this season. Perhaps that could be an issue as to why we're not scoring so much. I don't know. But I think Ralph's going to have his ideas and his trust, particularly in the academy products and the players coming through. And I don't think we'll be in a difficult position, even if he and Martial both went in January. To be honest, I think we'd be okay.
Yeah, funny you lead on to Martial there. I was going to talk about Martial next. With those two potentially leaving, obviously we do have the likes of Elanga as well in the academy, who I have always been a massive supporter of. It's not because he's Swedish; it's just because I purely think he's class. We've obviously got Greenwood as well. We've got Ronaldo. With our attacking presence I don't think it's the problem at the minute. I mean, form-wise, maybe, but raw talent, I don't think it's the problem that we need to kind of solve at the moment. Keane, what do you think about, because I know you're a massive Cavani fan. I know you absolutely love him. Would you be sad to see him go in January?
I think in January, yes, because if he leaves, I think if Ronaldo gets an injury, we're more or less relying on Mason Greenwood then to be the lead man as a number 9. I know Ralph plays the 4-2-2 system, and you'd have Greenwood, maybe Rashford up front. I think maybe convince him to stay for the 6 months. I know his contract is up in June anyway, so I think maybe convince him to stay for 6 months. Picture to him the fact that, look, we're going to play in this high press system. You're going to be an important part of the system for a 6-month period, and also help Mason in his education, which he did do last year. He was very integral in helping Mason Greenwood's game last year. So, like, for me, I'd keep him for the 6 months. And then, look, because obviously Mason, with that bit older, that bit more experienced, then I think we push Mason to partner Ronaldo, or wherever it is, in them 4 positions next year. I just worry if Ronaldo did pick up an injury, that we'd be very short in terms of experience at number 9, especially with the congested fixture list that we're going to have, obviously with the possible circuit break coming up, and you take into consideration we'll have Champions League as well against Atletico Madrid. Like we may need Cavani's movement against the team that's going to sit with a very deep block. So for me, I'd keep him for the 6 months, and then look, because I know he probably wants to move back home to Uruguay, maybe he can move on then. But for me, I would be cautious, and I would keep him for the 6 months.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And Andrew says here we need to keep Cavani until the end of the season. If he's fit, the partnership between him and Ronaldo could flourish. Financially, there's a little benefit from selling him in January, and I completely echo that sentiment. I would love to keep him until at least the summer, because he's great. He's great. His tenacity and his energy that he brings to this team every time he comes on the pitch, he gives his all, and you can't falter his attitude on the pitch at all. It's just his injury record is a bit hit and miss. Cal, do you agree with Andrew? Do you think we should sell him in January, or should we try and hold it off until the summer?
I don't ever want him to leave, to be honest. I love him, but ultimately he is always injured, and we knew this when we signed him. It was a big kind of con against his name in terms of his injury record. But again, it showed lack of planning, because we clearly didn't want Cavani, and then kind of was stuck with him at the end of the transfer window. I think it will probably be beneficial to keep him until June, just because Keith made a good point, really. There's going to be a lot of fixtures over the next couple of months now. All the players will be in bubbles, and they'll have to be careful to not get COVID and stuff. And COVID's rife in the Premier League at the minute. If Ronaldo was to catch it, that's 2 weeks out for him. Obviously, we're not all members of Parliament at Downing Street who like to go parties and have work meetings outside with the wife. So we'll just have to. There's going to be so much that's going to happen over the next few months. So I think Cavani probably could do with staying. I do hope the Glazers don't get involved and try and see it as a money-saving exercise to get his wage off the bill, because he obviously is on a lot of money, and in terms of how much he is injured, they probably are going to be thinking it's definitely better if they better to let him go. If Cavani goes, then we can't sell Martial. If Martial goes, then we can't sell Cavani. We need to keep them, because relying on Mason Greenwood to be that number 9 if Ronaldo was to get injured could really play a very negative effect on our season. Look, I don't want Cavani to leave, but moving to Barcelona in sunny Spain is probably better at freezing cold Manchester at the moment. So we'll just have to see. It's all at the moment. It's all rumours and garbage from the newspapers, because there's no football going on, and they need to use United's name to sell them. So I don't really believe it too much at the minute. I just hope he doesn't leave. I prefer him to stay.
Yeah, no, I hope so as well. And just like the comment said below, please like and subscribe on the video. We really appreciate it, and sub to the channel as well. We've got a lot of great content coming over the next few weeks, and obviously Devil's Advocate will be going, ramping up a bit in the new year. So we really appreciate any likes and subs to the channel would be absolutely great. Jamie, do you echo the sentiment of everyone else? Do you love Cavani and want him to stay, or do you think we should move on?
Yeah, I'm happy to swallow my pride on this one as well, because that was one of those ones that I didn't want him anywhere near the club. When I saw that we were signing him and we announced him, I just thought it was a knee-jerk reaction. It was a panic buy. We were bringing in someone that had been available on a free transfer for about 2 months. We were bringing him in right at the end. We weren't leaving him much time to integrate into the squad, but I'm happy to hold my hands up, because I was wrong. I think he's come in for the right reasons. He seemed to care about the club he wanted to play. And whenever he did play, he's got the fans on their feet. Sometimes, more figuratively than literally, because we weren't there for a while of it. But the thing for me as well about keeping him is that he offers us something that none of our other centre forwards really do. He's a different type of centre forward to Ronaldo, to Elanga, to Ahmad, to Martial. His movement is different. The way that he reads the game seems to be very different. I know that obviously Ronaldo's one of the greatest goal scorers of all time. Well, arguably the greatest goal scorer of all time. But I don't really know how to explain it. But they both have very different off the ball strategies for their movement, and I think Cavani does offer something different there. If he goes now, I don't blame him. Again, like Carl said, he's not a regular starter. He probably would be at Barcelona with Aguero retiring. It's a chance, and we know that South Americans love playing in sunny Spain. It's closer to their home climate. I mean, obviously, as much as Manchester's the greatest city on the planet, I think it'd be interesting. If we sell Cavani and Martial, then Elanga, Ahmad, they for me they come straight into the matchday squad, don't they? I'm not sure what the plans are for Ahmad. I know he was meant to go out on loan, but then got injured. I don't know if they're still looking at bringing him in, send him out on loan again. But yeah, with the games that we've got coming up in the second half of the season, with the fixture congestion that we're probably going to get when we inevitably have more postponements, we need as much depth as we can get. We see Chelsea today. They had 4 outfield players on the bench. And for us, if we start getting rid of players, whether you like them or not, then we're in a bit of a pickle if people pick up injuries. So I think I'm just echoing what anyone else said. But also, the only thing I'm going to say is, Carl, how can you talk about my analogies and say that they're not funny, and then you dropped that Parliament one? And honestly, man, I've heard more atmosphere at a morgue. So keep all the good work, son. You'll get there eventually.
What about more atmosphere at a morgue? What do you do? No, I think you do, honestly.
Go on, Big Sam.
God.
I really do look like him like this, don't I? I didn't actually realise how bad I look like him.
There was a comment earlier about it, but yeah, we'll skate over that one. There seems to be a lot of love for Cavani in not only the comments but also the panel as well. I think it's very clear he's a fan favourite. I think because he wants to play for the club, and I was exactly one of those people as well, Jamie. When we signed him, I thought it's panic buy, 100% completely, because of the way it was announced, when it was announced. We could have signed him 4 months prior to that. It just felt like a panic buy. But, obviously I was happy to eat my own words, always admit when I'm wrong. And I was wrong about Cavani. He broke that number 7 curse. He's always given his all to United. He's never bitched or moaned or anything. He's always been a massive professional. And if he does go in January, I'll be very, very sad to see him go. Even if he leaves in the summer, I'll still be very sad to see him go, because he's an asset to this team and he brings something different than what Ronaldo does. I completely agree. Stu, do you echo what everyone else says? Would you be sad to see him go, or do you think it's for the best?
So the lads know what I think of Cavani anyway. He's a brilliant finisher, but his movement in the box is the best in global football at the minute. There's nobody better than Cavani in the box. And I had a conversation, so to speak, a while ago about my thoughts about Greenwood being our number 9, and he's so way off being our number 9, it's untrue. However, though, when you put Martial and Cavani together, then really you want to be keeping Martial, because Martial's a better fit with Ronaldo, because Ronaldo's going to be the starting number 9. And so out of our squad at the minute, in terms of the polar opposites, Martial's a better fit. Now, when you look at and add the two together, although we do need squad depth, etc., Cavani, if he's got a chance to go to Barcelona, is likely to want Barcelona rather than sit on the bench and play second fiddle to Ronaldo. So that's the way I view it. And I think out the two, I think Martial's agent's coming out. He's just doing his usual posturing. January transfer window is upon us. It's going to be the most important January transfer window since it opened, due to the World Cup being in November. So players are going to need to start playing football who aren't playing regular football. I think Cavani's got Martial's got a chance of lining up against alongside Ronaldo. That would be my take on it. As for Cavani, though, it'll be a massive miss to us. When you think back to Southampton last season, Southampton away, the 2 goals that he scored, we haven't got a player in our squad that would have put those away. Not even Ronaldo would have put those away. There's only Cavani that could have scored those goals. But unfortunately, he's hardly played this season. Is he going to be fit enough for the second half of the season when it finally kicks on? Probably not. And if he wants to go to Barcelona, now's his chance, I think.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I wanted to move on from Cavani and touch on someone else who we mentioned briefly in Martial. The thing about Martial is I've never disliked a player at all. If you play for Man United, I always give you the benefit of the doubt, and I always kind of get behind you. A lot of people like to call it toxic positivity, which is what I'm known for. But, you know, hey ho. Martial, he's not really had, I don't want to say attitude, because I think it's a very negative kind of way of looking at it, but he's not really had the desire to fight for his place in the Manchester United team. Obviously, the best we saw of him was when he was part of that front three of Rashford, Martial and Greenwood. That was incredible. They had a smashing season, and the competition that he had with Rashford, the top scorer, I felt like he thrived on that. But when Martial's position is in doubt is when he kind of drops it, which is when he realistically should be up in it. But I feel like he just doesn't really like competition. Mark, where do you stand on Martial?
Yeah, we spoke about this the other night, didn't we, Stu? Listen, I know there's a good player in Martial. I've given him a lot of criticism, particularly over the last season or so. But on his day, and you can laugh, you can disagree with me, I think he's one of the best dribblers there is. I think he's one of the best at link-up play, and he's incredible. But we don't see it enough. Now, people talk about attitude problem and struggling with the competition when his position is in doubt. And I think it's very difficult to argue with, if I'm honest. I think too many times we have seen a lack of desire from him. Too many times, you know, Ibrahimovic, Sanchez, Cavani, it's all had a bearing, I think, on his form and his ability. Now, look, first time, maybe not. Second time, you know, third time, I think that there is a common theme here, and I think the common denominator is he does struggle when his position is under fire, and it's disappointing for me. But I think, you know, the boys have hit on nail on the head. Actually, really is a bit like Cavani. I think to lose anybody in January would be silly. I think Ferguson always mentioned this. He struggles to buy. He would struggle to buy players in January, and he didn't want ever to lose players in January. And I think that theme still fits, quite frankly. And I think it would be silly, but I think he's really on his last legs now. If I'm brutally honest, I can't, unless he comes in and absolutely smashes, hits the ground running and smashes it. It's going to be very difficult for him to win his place back. You know, we've got 6 players currently, 7, Elanga, few others that might come through with Ralph's new philosophy and system. And I think that, you know, Martial's probably sitting right at the bottom there. And that's unfortunate because, as I said, I think he, on his day, is a fabulous player. And I hope more than anyone that he can come back and hit the ground running. But I just can't see it right now.
Mm-hmm. It's that same analogy that you say that everyone should be given a clean slate under a new manager. You know, they see when a new manager comes in, that's when you see everyone's, you know, true colours of what they can really do, because everyone's trying to impress them. I mean, we saw it with Dele Alli today under Conte. He's had his best game in 3 years today on that Spurs pitch. So I think we could see a new Martial. We could see a rejuvenated, you know, hungry Martial that wants to go forward. But as Amy says below, we're having the same conversation about Martial and Pogba every single season or every single half a season. Keane, do you agree with Amy in saying that Martial needs to go?
Yeah, I think with Martial's kind of similar to Pogba. Like they've had too many purple patches, you know, at the football club, and the thing about it is it's a shame because you look at the talent he has and it's undoubtedly there. It's just does he really want it? Like that, does he really want that number 9 shirt? That's always come into question. And not only that, like you look at these last couple of weeks when Solskjaer was there, when Ollie wasn't picking him, like his wife was coming out saying he's fit. Then all of a sudden Rangnick comes in one day of training and all of a sudden he's not fit. But last week, his wife was putting out things like saying he was fit. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if is his heart elsewhere. But I just look at him like he has so much quality in like his dribbling, his finishing. Like he has ice in his veins. But you just look at it and think, is the Premier League the league for him? Like I have no doubt if he went to La Liga or if he went to Ligue 1 or Serie A, similar to Lukaku, he'd bang in the goals. It's just maybe this league and this style of play does it suit him because you don't like really and truly. He's only done it like really one and maybe a half season. And like if you want to be a forward for Manchester United, we've had Rude, we've had Rooney, Van Persie. You need to be consistent 20 goal season strikers. If you're not that, you're not going to be the level of Manchester United. And unfortunately for him, his time though is still quickly coming to an end. And the fact look, he's 26 now. How much longer is he going to how much longer are we going to persist with him? Because when you have Mason Greenwood there, who we can see here is consistently developing every season, why would we put our stock in another maybe year or 18 months of Martial potentially developing more when we see Mason is developing more in his game? So I think we kind of have to put our eggs in that basket, if I be honest.
Yeah, no, that's fine. John says losing players in January is not good unless they don't have a role in the team. So with Martial, and I want to come on to Lingard as well in this conversation and split it up a little bit. Lingard, obviously, we had the chance to sell him to West Ham last season for a fee. Obviously, West Ham were begging us for him because he was absolutely smashing it at West Ham. But, against maybe our better judgment, United brought him back. And he's not hit the same heights as what he did at West Ham. Cal, do you think that Lingard should be another one to move on, or do you think he has a role in this team?
I actually really like Lingard. I'd be gutted to see him leave, but ultimately he probably suited West Ham a lot better. And obviously United being out of form as they were, it's not helped him. So I think he'll probably end up leaving. Obviously it'll be quite cheap because his contract runs out in the summer. And hopefully he goes and does well. Obviously not against United, but hopefully he does well at West Ham. I think it's pretty much a matter of time of when, not if, with Lingard. And to be honest, same with Martial. Unfortunately, Martial hasn't hit the heights that we all thought he was going to when we signed him. Even though I can guarantee nobody actually heard of him when we signed him. But yeah, he's had too many chances now. He doesn't look interested when he plays. Doesn't work for the ball. You can see the complete difference in Martial and Cavani. Cavani constantly works for the team, constantly wants the ball, constantly pressing the defenders. Martial just doesn't do that, and it's quite frustrating to watch because you know how good he can be. But ultimately, I think Martial's probably finished at United now. I don't know how much we'll probably even see him in a United shirt again. He's not number one choice. He's clearly not going to be when we've got Ronaldo. Like he said, we've already got Mason Greenwood, so how much longer do we actually persist in Martial? At what point do we start going, well, Greenwood's going to be the future? We can't keep giving you chances, Martial, because you're just not taking it every time he plays. Because he's clearly a great player in there, but he's not hitting what he's supposed to be doing, and you can't let that standard drop when you're at Man United, unfortunately.
I mean, it's probably just a crossover of he doesn't suit us, we don't suit him. Like Kino said, he'll probably go and flourish somewhere else like Lukaku and absolutely bang him in, and then people will be like, oh, he couldn't do this for United. But it's just a different system. Different players work in different systems, and sometimes the player and the system just don't match, and we have to just accept that and move on, and then go and get a player who will match that system. Jamie, where do you stand? Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, that's like saying about Pogba before, like Bellingham and all the elements have really fit the system we've got. Ultimately, Martial, it's not. I don't even think it's a case of he doesn't fit the season, because he has played well for us before. A couple of seasons ago, he was our top scorer. He just doesn't seem like he's interested, and I think that's the main problem. He's had too much time now to show that he can be United starter, and he just doesn't want to do it.
He's probably just mentally checked out. I think he's just mentally checked out.
But as much as that could be true, if you're going to play for Man United, you kind of can't let that happen. Not for as long as he has. Whether his issues that he's got, I don't know. Obviously don't know him personally, but if that's the case, then hopefully he gets better. But ultimately, he's not. He's just not performed for too long now, and at Man United, you can't accept that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Jamie, do you echo the sentiment of? I'll come to you on both Lingard and Martial. Do you think they should both kind of go, or do we need to keep at least one of them? Because obviously we've already mentioned about this squad depth and the congestion of games, and if we're getting rid of these three players who are essentially squad players, then we're going to be a bit thin on the ground. So do you think we should sell them both, or do you think we should try and keep hold of them until the summer?
Yeah, so with Lingard, excuse me, I think, again, for him personally, because all I want to do is to see him thrive and for him to be happy. And I think for him, it's probably best for him to leave. I don't want him to go. I'd love him to stay at the club forever because I absolutely adore the guy. I think he had such a hard time over 18 months, and there were sections of our fan base that just ripped him to shreds. And then he came out and explained what had been going on. And I think a few people went, oh, shit. Everyone retweets stuff about, mental health mattering and stuff until it's your favourite professional footballer who's not turning up every week. And then all of a sudden, you're throwing abuse at them. So for me, I'd like to see him go somewhere where he is going to play week in, week out. The Premier League will get to see that there is a player in there. We saw that for, the tail end of the season for West Ham. He was absolutely on fire. The fact that I had him in my fantasy team, I was absolutely buzzing. That I could put him in there and consistently rely on him. So as much as I don't want him to leave, I want him to because it's going to be good for him. He'll get playing. It'll be good for his mental health again. And I want him to enjoy his football. In terms of Martial, I agree with Mark. It's probably a bit of a bait statement. I do think he's one of the best dribblers that there is. I think he has that low centre of gravity that we see with some of the best players. And the ball seems to stick to his feet when he fancies it. It's the one that always springs to mind is the pre-season against Real Madrid where he just took the ball through about 5 people. And it was just mystifying watching the way that he can do that. And he does have that in his locker. I think, again, to sort of sit on the fence a little bit, I don't think it helps that since he's been here, he's had 4 managers who've all played him in different positions. He's played on the left wing, he's played as a centre forward, he's played as an inside forward. He's been given different roles. But then there is the thing of him spitting his dummy out and being a bit of a brat. If somebody comes in and threatens either, with Zlatan, it was his number, with other people, it's been his position and things like that. But we saw that there is a side of him that enjoys the competition because when he had that competition with Rashford, it was the best we've got out of him. It's some of the best football we've seen from Rashford as well. And they both enjoyed it and it was working well. So personally, I'd like to see us keep hold of him for now and to see where he goes under Ralph because, again, clean slate. And the only other thing I will say as well, and I might get shot for this, but it's a genuine question. When we talk about you can't be at Manchester United and have that mentality or, we're Manchester United, blah, blah, blah. These players that have come in, though, we've not been Manchester United, in terms of we say to you can't come to Manchester United with that mentality. We're a shadow of what we were. Even when you look at the hierarchy, you look at the chief exec, you look at the way we operate as a club. We're not operating like the United that we did 20 years ago. So why should the players? Martial has come into this club and we've won a Europa League, an FA Cup, a League Cup, and a Charity Shield in the time that he's been here since he signed under Van Gaal. And all of them, one of them was won with Van Gaal and the rest were won under Mourinho. So it's my thing is that except if you turn on some documentaries and watch what we were like back in the day, and I know they would have grown up with us dominating, but we always hit this thing of, but we're Manchester United. But my thing is what these players that we bring in from other leagues that we bring in and we try and convince them about this mentality, why should they be like that if we're not prepared to operate as a club like that? And we've seen it again with the fact that, and I raised this point the other week, that Dan James is the only player that we've moved on for a profit since Fergie retired, which is an embarrassing statistic. So if we're not prepared to operate like the Manchester United that we all know and love, that we all grew up watching, that we saw dominate everything, why should the players follow suit and why should they, die for the badge? What have we offered them? And what have we shown them to show why they should be running through brick walls? Again, that is a genuine question. I'm not saying it's opinion. I'll probably get shot by some diehard fans that, have pictures of Roy Keane on their wall because, that's the mentality they all seem to have. But it's a genuine question. We've not won the league now in nearly 8 years. It will be 8 years by May, unless, we absolutely tear it up in the second half of the season. But yeah, so to summarise...
Still possible.
But yeah, to summarise, because I went on a tangent there, sorry. I think Lingard should go for his benefit. I love him, want him to stay, but for his benefit, I think we should keep Martial because I still think he might have something to give us.
I absolutely adore Lingard, and I completely agree with you. All I want is for him to play football, because there is a player in there. He's a good little player. We've seen it at West Ham last year. He was absolutely smashing it. And to see him happy and enjoying his football again was absolutely fantastic, especially after everything that he's been through, all the crap he's gone through and all he's had to deal with his illnesses in his family. And it was so nice to see him actually enjoying football again. So as much as I don't want him to leave, I just know it's better for the player and also for Man United if he does leave. But again, I would like to see him leave in the summer and not in January, because I know he would probably leave for a free in the summer, but that fixture congestion does really frighten me. And in fact that, yes, we are probably going to have this circuit breaker now and probably not going to pick up the Premier League until January. And then obviously we've got the Champions League. There's a lot of fixture congestion in there, and we are going to need the wider squad, because one injury, either in the middle of the park, the back of the park, or the front of the park, and we're fucked. So we really need to take that into consideration. I wanted to leave this comment up and talk about it for a minute with you, Stu. If Lingard leaves, does Hannibal get promoted to the first team squad? What do you think about the academy lads? Do you think they've got their chance now, or do you think there's still improvement to be made?
No, Hannibal won't get promoted yet. He's not really touched the first team squad. So he's not going to get promoted. Let me just touch on Lingard and Martial, actually. Lingard should have gone in the summer. He'd have been a shoo-in for the World Cup squad if he'd gone in the summer. Now he's got no chance. He's not playing enough football. If he doesn't go in January, he won't have that time to play his way in. So I think West Ham's the right move for him. But Martial's the key to the second half of our season. If we can get Martial playing and attacking the diagonal like he did a couple of seasons ago, then that's what we're missing. That's the Martial that we're missing. He's brilliant at attacking the diagonals of the penalty box. That's why we won so many penalties. Rashford was the same. For whatever reason, they both stopped. Martial is also clinical from the penalty spot back to the 18-yard line. That's where he operates brilliantly. He's clinical from there. Now, Ronaldo doesn't offer you that. Ronaldo's either, around the penalty spot, your 12 yards, or outside the box. Martial's better from the 18-yard to your penalty spot. That's where he's clinical. So the big issue is the way that Ranić plays his 4-2-2. He plays the 10s as your two wide players. That's why I think Martial and Ronaldo would be brilliant together, because Martial will give you the threat on the outside of the box. Ronaldo gives you the threat on the inside of the box. With regards to Medjbury, we haven't seen enough of him in first team action. That's the biggest problem. I think he's ripping up in the 23s. He's an excellent footballer, low centre of gravity, very, very good technically. Probably, I think, the most foul player in the under 23s. I think he's the under 23s Jack Grealish. Some of the academy lads have got a chance. Alanga's probably got a chance. I'd like to see Fernandez brought through, the left back from the under 23s. I think he's excellent. Like to see him given a chance. Not so sure about Ekbel. I think he's just too lightweight at the minute. He's obviously technically very, very good. He's just a little bit too lightweight. Charlie Savage might have an opportunity. These lads, unfortunately, going out the Carabao Cup has hampered most of these lads' development. The Carabao Cup would have been ideal if we were still in that, or playing a low-end cup competition. The development for these lads is great. I think moving forward, I think Ranić's got to push those aside for the minute. He's got to look at those as a summer project moving forward. It depends what Ranić's ambitions are. It depends what the club's ambitions are. We've got a potential to reach third at the minute with Chelsea slipping up, providing we catch up, we win our games in hand, and we go on this run that we think we need to. But Ranić's got a decision to make in terms of who he wants to use personnel-wise moving forward. But Lingard, if he's got any aspirations of the World Cup, which I think it's too late for him now, he should have gone in the summer.
You know what, though, Stu? You said then about how going out the Carabao Cup has probably stopped some of these lads. I mean, if they played for City, then they probably would have got a lot of opportunities, to be fair, because they'd have probably just drew like Macclesfield or Bury.
Yeah,
don't even exist anymore.
True.
Right, that's how lucky City's draws would have been. United would end up getting Liverpool, then Arsenal, then Chelsea, and that's it. It's ridiculous, the draws at the minute. Like, yeah, I don't really know how much opportunity would have got in the Carabao Cup. Would we have got through anyway? Really,
the problem we got with the 23, we spoke about this plenty of times. There's, the step up between the 23s to the first team is absolutely huge. There's only a few players that can actually make that step and make it a permanent step. There's got to be something in between. Whatever they do, there's got to be something in between.
The thing is with that though, obviously a lot of players end up. This is why getting them out on loan in League 1 and 2 is so massive for them, because that is senior football where you're playing against grown men. You're 100% right. The under 23s, as good as you can be technically, it isn't the same as senior football, and them going out on loan would help them massively. It's just obviously in terms of the availability of them, whether they're just not being made available to go out on loan, whether these clubs in the lower part of the pyramid can even afford them, we don't know. But it's it is a shame. It would be good to see more out on loan at the moment.
I agree with you on that, Cal. I mean, what I'd like to see us do is buy a League 2 club. That's what I'd like to see us do, buy a League 2 club, and then we could start having a feeder series in the UK. In the past, Fergie used to have feeder clubs out in Belgium and Holland, places of that nature. But it was low end football. It wasn't very, very good. I think if we bought a League 2 club, I think that'd be absolutely ideal.
You can do that though, Stu.
You can't. I don't think you can. You'd have to set up a holding company, a new holding company, and do it that way. Yeah. But we need to do something like that. Unless we invest in a League 2 club, which we're entitled to do, we can invest into a League 2 club. But we need to do something.
Do that though. But don't forget, we've got the class of '92 that own Salford, so that's a good little feeder thing there. I'm really surprised Salford don't actually. They even try to go for them. It's quite surprised. And there's well going on with that. A lot of clubs tend to have affiliate clubs. So, like you just said, Benny, that was it.
It's probably because Paul Scholes talks so much shit about United these days.
And also, what you're going to do, you're going to go send Hannibal into League 2, where Big John, that manages to play every other Sunday, is going to just crunch him and put the fear of God into him. I just think that
that's what he needs.
No, he doesn't.
He's a professional footballer, Jamie. That's what happens.
But this is when we're talking about the development of young players, especially players like Hannibal that are gifted at what he does. The last thing you want to do is rush him too much and terrify them of playing their game, because otherwise he'll just end up stunting, and he'll find a level that he's comfortable playing at, which at the minute is under 23s football. And if his baptism by fire is Big John coming in 2-footed,
I don't want him to be comfortable.
John Parkin at York City. Yeah, but there's a way and means of being out of your comfort zone, and there's bringing people. You look at the likes of James Wilson. We thought James Wilson was going to be the next Ashley Fletcher. Ashley Fletcher was ahead of the Marcus Rashford in the pecking order, and then we rush them through too quickly, and then all of a sudden, off they pop. That's always my fear with them. Talents like Hannibal need to be managed properly, and they need to be eased in to get the best out of them.
The problem is you're talking modern football, though, Jamie. Football isn't like that. Football isn't a cakewalk. It shouldn't be a cakewalk. If you want to make it the very, very top of your game, fucking put yourself out there.
I just think there's a difference.
Put yourself out there, man.
There's a big difference.
You're probably right to have that concern, but Stu's right. It's football. It's professional football. It happens. There's nothing to say that he won't get crunched down to 23 football. But he should play in senior football. I'm not saying Hannibal should go out on loan at all. I think Hannibal's good enough to be in our squad already. But what I'm saying is, in terms of some of the other lads, like the likes of Charlie Savage and Zidane Iqbal and all these lads going out on loan could do them a lot. I don't particularly think Hannibal needs to, because I think he's good enough already. But these players could do with experience in senior football at a young age to get more of a grasp of what it could be like.
But that's what I mean. There's a difference between getting experience in senior football that's Premier League or Championship level and sending them down to the depths of League 2, because it's just not transferable. You're not what are they going to learn by playing Morecambe week in, week out, and teams. I have no offense to any Morecambe fans that might be watching, although I don't know why you'd be watching us on a Sunday night. I guarantee you now that Kieran McKenna's at Ipswich, I guarantee you we'll start sending out some of the talent. He knows them really.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
The thing is, Jamie, it's not, and I take your point, but it's not all about the types of players. It's also the environment that you're going into. You learn a little bit more about professional football when you're there. The pitches aren't as great. So, you know, you're not playing on carpets like they are at Carrington all the time or LSV. If you've been to LSV lately, the pitch is like a carpet, man. I mean, it's ridiculous. And it's a rugby league pitch. But they learn about the environment. I'm not advocating you go back to the old days, back in the 70s and the 80s, the boot room. You're absolutely right. Players then, they're coming back from injury, first team players like a Gerrard or a Carragher, whatever, it'd be crunching into the young lads. What they need is just that environment, the whole experience, not just. And you're right. Look, playing against Big John, and look, when I was 16, I started playing against men because you have to. You've got to learn your trade. I took one in the nuts in my first game. I've still got the scar to prove it, but you just get it. You just get on with it.
Lovely. That's what everyone wants to hear on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying. I take your point, Jamie. And I don't disagree with you, mate. But I also think it's an environment thing as well. And the problem with playing at clubs like United, City. They're money coddled all the time. They get everything done for them. They're earning $5-6 grand a week at 16 years, 17 years old if they've got anything about them. And it's just, they need a dose of reality.
And this is why. But this is what I'm
agree.
saying, though. One second, just quickly, because I think people are misunderstanding. I'd rather see them playing for championship clubs that are fighting for promotion or low-level Premier League side than farming them out to Salford just because they're owned by the Class of 92. Because I don't see where players like Hannibal, like Zidane, are going to pick up the experience in League Two. Send them out to the likes of Bournemouth. Send them out to anyone like Blackburn are doing well at the minute. Get them in there playing a decent standard of football against players that they're more likely going to come up against in the Premier League than farming them off to the depths of League Two.
It depends where you're in.
To be fair, League Two was just more of an example. We've seen it last year with Mengi going to, I think it was Derby. Off the top
You
of
went
my head.
Derby, didn't you?
The thing is, when you do start having like former members of staff or former players connected with other clubs across the football pyramid, you need to take advantage of that. With Rooney being at Derby, Derby are struggling for players. And going to Derby would be great.
Exactly.
Going to Ipswich now, the brilliant players going there. Salford, the players that probably haven't got the ability of those, but still need to play senior football to get that experience, could go to League Two. It's just an example, but it seems like United don't have these affiliate clubs like the City do or like Chelsea do. So using those connections with the likes of Rooney, Kieran McKenna and things like that.
We did used to have those affiliate clubs. We did used to have them, didn't we? But I don't know.
Royal
Antwerp. Yeah,
it was at Antwerp, and there was a team out in
Mulder.
Holland, wasn't there? Yeah, we've had Mulder and that. But the thing is, kids have got to learn. These lads have got any aspirations whatsoever of playing. And also, Jamie, if you consider if they don't make it United, they've got to end up somewhere.
Yeah,
these kids aren't prepared for lower league football. Carl's right. You wouldn't send them to League Two anyway. I tell you, it's a really good exponent.
That's what my point was.
Yeah, you're right. I tell you, he was a really good exponent of the loan system. Young Harvey Elliott at Liverpool. He went out to Blackburn for 12 months, didn't he? Or a season. He came back and he cemented himself before he got injured in their first team. He was playing some scintillating football. And that's the type of loan that you want. I know that under Dean Smith, Brandon's starting to get game time again. He's starting to look a bit of a player again. Maybe he's found his level. In the Premier League, you'd send any players out to Brighton and Southampton all day long. Southampton particularly because of Hasenhuttl and the way that he plays, but Brighton because of the way Potter coaches. Bournemouth would be a great place as well. Under Parker, I agree with that. Fulham, it'd be a good team, but they've got to learn, or the FA or the Premier League have got to do something with a Premier League 2 or something. I don't know what the answer is, but
I think just to put my
do here.
Go on.
Go on, Mark. Sorry. Go on, Mark.
I've been waiting here patiently. I'm going to put my
that's
2
your
pennies in
problem.
there.
You're too patient.
Yeah,
I am too patient. I'll remember that next time. No, I think I agree with both sides of the coin. Actually, I think what you've got to remember is not every player is going to come through at 18 like Greenwood, like Rooney, like Martial, and sort of hit the ground running. And I think this is what the job of the club is, to be able to understand exactly what level they need to be at, put them into the right places, which I think we've seen more and more of and better in the last couple of seasons. But I think, Jarvis made a really good comment about the fact that, if you're old enough, if you're good enough, you're old enough. And if Medjbury is obviously he's a fantastic little player and seems to be ahead of his game. And again, I really feel that Rangnick is going to be the right man to nurture and bring these players in. We want to talk about what his philosophy has been and how he's made the average age of Leipzig from 31 or whatever it was to 24 and has got a real keen eye for these players. This is the perfect opportunity. Again, we go back to that clean sheet thing. They're all in the same boat now. Elanga, Medjbury, and a number of others, and they've got a real opportunity. And, I think that they will be placed in the right areas, and if they're ready to come in, they will, and I think you'll see a few of them this season.
Yeah, my point was just going to be, Mark, Rachel, what do you think, because you've not spoken for ages?
It's okay. I was just literally letting everyone talk. I was just
welcome to all for United, Rachel. When me, Cal and Jamie are on, that's what you get.
To be honest,
don't shut up for ages.
I think it's one of those things where you look at it and you say, look, with all this talent that we're talking about, there's like 6 or 7 names that we've mentioned right off the bat. It's very clear and very evident that we have the best, if one of the best, if not the best academy in the country, right? Not all of them will hit the heights of like the Premier League first team football, like Rashford and Greenwood and all the names we mentioned and Rooney, but they have that potential, and I do kind of agree that they need to be nurtured. Like, I agree with kind of the way that Greenwood has been nurtured. I feel like Greenwood's been nurtured quite a lot, especially by Ollie before he left. I felt like he really took care of Greenwood, especially with the whole England situation and kind of bedding him into the team that way. Obviously, Greenwood was kind of forced into first team football whenever he first came in. It's been a long 18 months. Whenever he first came in with that COVID break, and he was absolutely hitting the ground running. But just the fact that we have so many academy players that we're talking about, oh, what about this person or what about him, shows how much depth we actually have in our academy that they could break through. I agree that I think Elanga's probably the closest one that we have to the first team at the moment. Obviously, he's making the bench frequently. He's showing he's got grit. He's built. He looks built for the Premier League. I agree that a lot of the younger lads don't look like they're Premier League ready. I don't want to say bulk up because, there are a lot of very good, skinny, small players out there, but they don't look Premier League ready at the moment. But I think Elanga's probably the closest one to that. In terms of players going out on loan, I actually like it, especially when it's academy lads. Like, you've got Palestri out on loan at the moment. I was all out for going with Ahmad as well out on loan, obviously before he got injured. Have we still got Chong out on loan as well?
Yeah,
Chong was on loan.
Yeah, he got injured. He got injured. He was playing fantastic, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he was playing absolutely fantastic. So I'm all for players going out on loan and showing what they can do, especially in England. I think I would much prefer it be in England because it's getting them ready for that Premier League. The Championship is where I would kind of draw the line, where I would like them to go. Maybe to like a club that's coming up at the moment, like Coventry City. I mean, they're kind of middle of the ground at the moment. They're not up there with the likes of Fulham and Stoke and all that, but they're kind of in the middle, which they could need players that we can offer. So clubs like that, I think, would really, really benefit, and it would really help the players as well get used to English football in preparation for the step up to the Premier League if they were to make it. So yeah, I feel like that was really long-winded. Cool. I want to move on from the academy quickly and move on to the momentum that we're inevitably gonna. Is it going to be a break in momentum with this circuit breaker that they're apparently going to bring in? Obviously, we've got a few games in hand now. We've got 2 games in hand. Is it 2? Yeah.
2. Yeah.
2 games in hand that we've got now. Obviously, we saw with Spurs today that they had almost a 2-week break, and it didn't seem to faze them at all because it was one of the decision making with Spurs and Son in Kane in some of the positions was not great. But that was one of their best games that I've seen them play this season. It was a really good game. They gave Liverpool a good game today. So I don't think it's going to massively affect us. It's going to hinder us in the long run, having this break. Mark, do you think it might hinder us?
No, I don't think so. I think it could be a bit of a blessing, actually. It's not going to have an effect on training. Fundamentally, all that will happen is they will be testing regularly, ensuring that they're negative, and the players that are fit and are negative will be training. And I think, if anything, it will be a long needed time that's been needed for training. Quite frankly, I think that there just hasn't been quite enough time yet for him to sort of drill in his philosophy and what he wants. So I don't necessarily see it as a problem. I think it could be a bit of a blessing, to be honest.
Kina, do you agree? Do you think it could be a blessing in disguise, or do you think it might hinder us in the long run?
Well, depending on the COVID situation at the football club, in terms of who's training, who isn't, who are the important players, it may have an knock-on effect on the momentum, especially if you look at the way it's chalk and cheese, the type of systems that Solskjaer played compared to what Rangnick's doing in terms of what he wants. So I think you look at it, it could be, I suppose, a killer to momentum. But look, we've seen Spurs today. Like, they didn't play a game for 2 weeks, and they played well today. They had a high intensity, and they looked like a team that were match fit. So it just depends on how the COVID situation pans out over these next couple of weeks, and hopefully we can keep cases down low regardless of what's happening at our clubs. I know if they have high cases, we mightn't play games, but hopefully if we can get that together, and hopefully most of the first team can train, then look, maybe it could be a blessing in disguise. If the games are called off and most of the first team are there, we can help implement that system. Maybe look, I suppose you can have your own behind closed door games throughout the squad, and Rangnick can kind of learn a bit more about his own players, through that. So look, let's wait and see. I'd like to think if we can keep most of them fit, let's use this time to help implement the system. Maybe try iron out some things that even in these last couple of months in terms of bad habits these players had under the previous regime, try to iron them out. Then also work on things like set pieces. I know we brought in a new set piece coach in Eric Ramsey a couple of months ago, which he's actually still there. So maybe he hasn't had that much time to work on the set pieces. That maybe let's see if he can maybe improve that, because we've conceded our goals from set pieces in the last 12 months. So let's try work on that as well. Let's see if that's possible. Let's see if after this break we see an improvement.
We can only hope. Callum, do you agree? Do you think that it's good for us, this extended break? Do you think it gives Ralph a lot more time to work with the players and really implement his views?
Well, yeah, sort of. But the training ground's shut at the minute, so it's not really like you can do a lot anyway. The thing, I mentioned the League Cup before, it's a bloody good job we went out of it, because it's less games to play. All these games coming thick and fast now, I think it is going to show there is going to be a lot of opportunity for the squad players, because at the end of the day, the same 11 can't play every 2-3 days. It's just impossible. We'll start to see a lot more muscle injuries, muscle fatigue, and look, it's great as a fan because there'll be loads of football on constantly. I do fear for the players in terms of injuries, though. I think there will be a circuit breaker. I really do. I think there's going to be a couple of weeks. I think the UK will have a lockdown just after Christmas. Everyone but Downing Street, obviously, and then there'll be loads and loads of games again. And I loved it, because when it was locked down last year and the games came back, there was a game on.
It's all right, Cal. I've got an invite for number 10, so I'll send you one over, mate.
Of course, you have, you massive Tory.
Yeah. Can you slap Morris in the fucking face?
No problem.
Yeah. Oh God, I hate him. Anyway, yeah. I think it might be a little bit of a hindrance. It depends on, because I think with Ralph coming in, we were starting to find a little bit of form. I think started winning games. Started to see a little bit of a change. Obviously, the Norwich game kind of papered over a lot of cracks, though. There's still work to be done, clearly. So I do think there's going to be a lot more time on the training ground needed anyway, regardless of any breaks in the games. So I think it won't be a hindrance at first, but I think in the long run it could be a bit of a problem. And it'll be great as a fan to watch, but it won't be great, I don't think, as for the football clubs themselves.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with this comment as well from Connor. It depends on how long the break is as well, but I think you need to factor that into consideration as well. Also, games could be behind closed doors as well. I know absolutely no one wants that at all. As a season ticket holder, I don't want that at all. I want to be at the game. I want to be there. I don't want to watch it on the sofa. It was horrible because it's essentially training games. It means obviously means something, but it means nothing because football is nothing without the fans, right? Jamie, do you agree? Do you think the break could be good for Rangnick, or do you think, like Connor, it depends on how long the break is?
Yeah, I think we've been shit recently. I think we played a good 45 minutes against Crystal Palace the first half, and everyone seemed to be up in, it was it. It was the Ralph revolution. There's still a lot of work to be done. We were atrocious against Norwich. It's a tie between them and Newcastle at the minute for who are the worst side in the league, and we struggled against them. And if they were a bit more clinical, they'd have beaten us. So I think there's a lot of work. I don't think we're necessarily disrupting any momentum because I don't think there's any momentum there to be built on. I just think we looked poor. I do believe that Ralph will come good. I think, again, that first 40 minutes against Palace was the best we've looked all season. So I think it'll give him more time to maybe analyse the footage, to maybe work on individual training programs. Even if Carrington's shut, you can imagine that they're still getting instructions from the club on what they want them to work on, and when it comes to strength and conditioning, cardio, etc. So I think that's what they'll be doing at the minute. But I agree, if it's one of those things where we have a month of nothing, and then if we go back to playing behind closed doors, you're stuck with that horrible choice of, do I either listen to the canned noise on Sky Sports, which is horrible, or do you listen to it with no canned noise, which I was doing for Arsenal Wolves when David Luiz went into the back of Raul Jimenez and cracked his skull, and you heard it. So ever since that, I was just terrified, because every time you see someone going for a challenge, I'm like, I'm not hearing that again. It knocked me sick. So I think it's one of those. We need to see where it goes. Also, just around, there's a point I picked up on in chat, and it was Reese that was talking about, he thought that Harvey Elliott played for Cardiff. I think you're thinking of Harry Wilson, mate, by the way. I was just looking at that, and that just popped to mind. Harry Wilson from Liverpool. But yeah, I think it's one of those. It depends. It depends on how quickly we can get Carrington open, whether we go into bubbles or whatnot, whether we start training with the attackers separately and the defence separately, and we come up with different training plans. But realistically, what more can we do? Everyone's vaccinated. Well, everyone hopefully is vaccinated or getting vaccinated. Everyone's getting their boosters in. The country have done exactly what we were told, so they're going to slap us with a lockdown anyway, just to detract from the fact that Boris is leading the country astray again. No worries, Reese. So just pretty much echoes what everyone else. But yeah, like Reece said, City play behind closed doors every week, and they do all right. So but at least they have a light show. At least they had that light show the other week, which was absolutely embarrassing against Leeds. Again, I expected to hear Stone Cold's music, and he starts dashing down the tunnel.
You know what? If I ever see a light show at Old Trafford, I'll walk out. That's it. Like it drives me mad. It's so Americanized, and it's so.
We'll get halftime. That's what's going to happen. We'll get halftime shows before too long. You'll end up with a 45-minute break in the Champions League final and the World Cup final, and they'll wheel out Robbie Williams and Dua Lipa or something like that.
Yeah.
I swear to God, that ever happens, I'm done, man.
Yeah, I'll walk out. No chance. Stu, I want to come to you quickly before we move on to Rashford. Do you think that we can keep momentum up with Ralph, even though Carrington's not open at the moment, or do you think it might put a dent in our plans?
Well, I'm with Jamie. I don't think we had any momentum anyway. We've been shite all season. We weren't great. Second half against Norwich, we just haven't played. We haven't turned up. The players aren't playing to anywhere near their ability. So, we can only go weighing that up. We can't go any further. We can't sink any lower than what we have been. I do think that, Jamie, Callan, Mark will know that player responsibility will be even more keen out than what it was when Carrington was open, because it'll be up to them to keep themselves fit, keep themselves sharp. I think the lads are right. I think Ranieri will certainly be giving them a lot of work to do at home. there'll be more video analytics than they've ever had. And I think it's up to them to come out and play. And, players today, they say they thrive on crowds. It's absolutely a load of bullshit. Most players don't even realise the crowds are there when they get into the game, because that's they're in the zone. And so whether we play in front of a crowd or behind closed doors doesn't really affect a player. I think we're going to be in with a circuit breaker. I think we will be in lockdown. If I was at the Premier League, I'd put a circuit breaker until the winter break, because we'd have had 2 weeks off, or half the teams have had 1 week off, half the teams have had another week off, so we'd have had 2 weeks off. We can catch up in the winter break, or where the winter break would have taken place, and we shouldn't lose too much on the top end of the season if we do it that way. The lads have got to be smart. Raniak's obviously quite a smart cookie, but the players are now got to become smart, which is what they weren't doing up until Raniak joined, which is one of the reasons why Ollie is no longer with us, which is a real shame. But no, I don't think it'll matter one way or the other, I'm afraid.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Just before we wrap up, I wanted to quickly talk about Marcus Rashford. Obviously, Sir Marcus Rashford, MBE, he's absolutely, what a person, what a man he is. He's absolutely incredible. And the work he's doing over Christmas as well is absolutely outstanding. And I can't knock the guy at all. But football-wise is what we're here to talk about, although we have been talking politics for the past kind of 10 minutes or so. But in terms of Rashford's footballing, Keane, do you think that where he is at the moment and how he's been performing on the pitch in the last few games, does he warrant a place in the starting lineup?
For me, I think playing as part of the front two in this 4-2-2 system, he doesn't look comfortable, with his back to play. And I think if you even look at the couple of games before that, even towards Ollie's tenure, yes, he got a couple of goals, got one against Leicester, got one against Atalanta. Other than that, he was always delivering in moments where I can see, I think Mason may be a bit more suited to playing the two, rather than Marcus. And I think maybe with all the injuries he's been carrying over the last 2 years, maybe that's affected his development, affected his form. And I'd maybe rather see Mason Greenwood. I think he'd be just a much better fit for the system in terms of playing alongside Cristiano Ronaldo. And he's a better finisher than Marcus. And look, maybe a bit of time out of the team to maybe reassess his game might do him the world of good. And look, we all know he has quality. He's shown it in the past, but just at the moment he's a bit inconsistent. And look, I think Mason Greenwood will be the player to come in and give Joe Rashford a run for his money up front, and maybe give him the kick up the backside he needs to step up his game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. And just finally, I'm just going to wrap it up dead quick. Does anyone think these Rashford rumours are true about him wanting to leave? Anyone?
No. I saw it in another chat the other day. Someone was posting it about Rashford being interested in Barcelona, and it came from the Sun. And I absolutely don't believe it at all. I don't think he would be so vocal. And I think he is quite a professional, to be honest. I do not believe it. There might be a bit of truth in it. I think Keane's absolutely spot on. He doesn't really fit that new system, and I think it wasn't a coincidence that when we changed to 4-3-2-1 at the end of the game, he played much better and stepped it up. But he's got to adapt to that. I think he needs some time out. But no, I don't believe that those stories are true whatsoever.
It fit it as a 10. It fit it as one of the two 10s.
Yeah, agreed.
He won't fit it alongside. He won't fit alongside Ronaldo. Keane's right. I actually think Keane Martial's a better fit. Actually, I know what you're saying about Greenwood. I do take your points, but I think just at this point, Martial would be a better fit alongside Ronaldo. But Rashford would be quite good alongside behind as one of the two. Yeah.
Only reason he'd leave to go to Barcelona is if he found out there was a bunch of Catalonian kids that were hungry. Yeah, that'd be about it. The guy's not interested. There's more chance of him joining fucking Liverpool.
Oh God, no!
First.
That would kill me.
But it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
No, exactly. That's his point.
I think Cal, this is about to kill him.
This is
about to kill you, isn't she?
So I crack the whip and be like, where you at, boy?
I know, she's laying next to me in bed.
Mason, it's time for you to put some Vaseline on that bald head of yours, isn't it, before you go to bed?
All we're going to see is a fist come bang into his side of his head. Get off that.
As long as that's where it goes and it doesn't go elsewhere.
Yeah.
And on that note, I think I'm going to end it there, guys. It's been a really, really good chat.
Sorry, Cal.
Thanks for having me on the first edition of Devil's Advocate. It's been great. Excited to be part of the AFU fam. And yeah, I guess, do you guys want to shout out your Twitters? Mark, what's your Twitter? Where can the people catch you?
Yeah, just as it shows, at Mark Biggs, no shit in between. I just want to say thank you very much, Rachel. Fantastic hosting tonight, and great to have all of you guys on as well. Really good talk.
Yep.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Keno, where can the people get you?
Yeah, you can catch me at United_Keen, just spreading United propaganda on the daily and also winding a few people up.
Fantastic. What we love to see. Callum?
Fucking TV is shit. Yeah, follow me there. My Twitter name's there.
Forever professional,
Callum. The TV's just turned itself off. It's doing me head in. Yeah, at _Callum Stone. Follow me on Twitter. Read my blog as well if you want, unitedroad.com. Well done, Rachel, on the first presenting job and all that. Shut up, Jamie. And nice to see you, team.
Jamie, do you want to shout out your Twitter and probably wind them up a bit more?
Yeah. Me Twitter's at Jamie Andrews _. It's just unhinged and unfiltered, and it's just every fucking stupid thought that pops into my head ends up on there. Whether I talk about politics, football, or everything in between. Callum, you fucking bald. Shut up.
Yeah, but this is by choice. I shave my head.
Yes. So what?
I mean, it's not by choice. I'm not
you can follow me there if you want to. It's there at Stu Woolley, and yeah, you can't find me in the group chat because I always mute it.
Come back to 300 messages.
Yeah.
I did come back from packing today to 119 messages, and I thought, Jesus Christ, I'm not reading all them. If it's important,
that was in the space of about 30 minutes, probably.
It is funny.
Yeah, probably. You can catch me as always on Rach MUFC 7. Mostly talk about United, NBA as well. I've been really active on there because there's been no football, but now they're taking my basketball away from me as well. So now I've got nothing to talk about. So it'll probably just be me chatting shite 24/7.
I heard somebody in this chat was talking Stone Cold Steve Austin the other day, moonlighting on some other channel.
Yeah, that was me. That was Reese. That was well fun. That I love that.
To be fair, I caught some of it. It was really good. Reese is a great host, isn't he? He was really quite funny. He's good. Yeah. He's not listening, is he?
Loads of fun.
Yeah, I did.
He's been in the chat all night.
Oh, have he? Yeah. Love Reese.
Yeah, but that was well fun.
Shout out to Reese, of course. We're going to leave it there, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to smash a like on the video, sub to the channel, and also interact with us on over in Twitter as well. Get your comments in. We always love the interaction. And we'll see you next time for Devil's Advocate and everything else in between. See you later.